Much of the state's case against Casey Anthony rested on her behavior after the death of her daughter Kaylee, even the defense admitting that she partied and lied, something a lot of people were troubled by. But was that behavior truly out of line? Dr. Keith Ablow, a psychiatrist and part of the Fox News Medical A team. And Doctor, good morning. I should say good evening to you. We spoke earlier this morning. And you cast a theory for our viewers earlier today that we wanted to pick up on again today, because this is your line of work about how people and why they react the way they do and behave the way they do based on their own life experiences. Now, you're trying to tie this thread together that takes us back to this woman as a very young child and how that affected or influenced her up until this point today as a 25-year-old woman who just beat a serious capital murder rap. Why?
Well, here's the thing, Bill. I said this morning when we talked that if the prosecution were hoping that the jury would conclude to themselves, no woman could possibly go out and party and dance late into the night and look for men whose little girl had gone missing. That's not so, because there are psychologically vulnerable people out there who, in the setting of trauma, like my little girl's gone, or I know my little girl to have died, will become, for instance, manic and show the very symptoms, if they were symptoms, that Casey displayed. Euphoria, disinhibition, this getting of the tattoo, yes, sexual indiscretions, partying late into the night, sleeplessness. And what kind of person do you imagine might be vulnerable to that? Well, for instance, an abuse victim. Because, and I'm not casting aspersions here or concluding that her dad is guilty of anything, but if he were, if he had in fact sexually abused this young woman and she considered herself in league with him in a certain way, that she was his confidant, the toll of her denial, her placing her child at risk in the same home as this man who had violated her trust, could shatter her psychologically.
Dr. Ablow,
and lead to all these symptoms.
I need we're almost out of time, but I need to ask you this question. Why do you think her parents stood up and walked out of that room today?
I think they stood up and walked out of the room because it leaves them open to serious questions, like, for instance, why does a guy try to kill himself or write a suicide note in the middle of losing his granddaughter, or possibly carry on an affair while looking for her? I've never heard of a grandparent who decides it's so terrible I'm going to take my life, this loss. I've never heard of that in my entire 20 years of forensic psychiatry.
Very interesting.
I've seen killers do that.
Yeah.
Dr. Ablow, thank you. I'm glad you were here tonight. Good to get your thoughts, because all along, Dr. Ablow has been suggesting that Casey's behavior was in line with somebody who may have been mistreated as a child, as he just said. We don't know that, but it certainly leaves that question open.
Yeah, there have been a lot of theories in this case.